everyone, my name is Songwoo and today we're going to be making another HSC Python project. So this project will be Hangman. So first off, what is Hangman? For those of you who don't know it, feel free to watch this part. If you already do, then feel free to skip. We will be simplifying this game for the sake of coding it, but later on we can go in and add graphics if we want. So to play Hangman, we choose a random word. Let's say in this case I choose the word apple. Then we'll draw the lines A, P, P, L, E. You play this with a minimum of 2 people, so the other person doesn't know what the word is, but for the sake of example, we're just going to say that we know that the word is apple. And then the other person will guess a letter. So let's say they guess E. Then we'll put E here. Let's say then they guess T. Well, T isn't in the word apple, so we'll write the letter that's not in the word apple here and draw our first part of our hangman. So this can be anything that hangs, so you can do a balloon, you can do a tree, but in this case we're just going to use a line for the sake of simplicity. And then let's say they guess S. Well, S also isn't in the word, so we'll draw the head. And then if they keep guessing wrong letters, so let's say Z, then we have the body, X, then we have one arm, Q, then we have another arm, B, then we have a leg. Let's say they finally guess A, then we'll put that here. And if they can guess all the letters before the hangman is complete, then they've saved the hangman and they've kind of essentially won the game. But if they don't, and let's say they guess C, and the hangman is drawn, then the hangman is complete and they lose the game. So this is the game that we're going to be coding today. And to do this, we're going to find a list of random words and have the computer play against us, and we'll be the ones trying to guess what the word is. So how are we going to make this? First, we're going to have the computer choose a random word from a list of words that we'll input. Then we'll show the word with dashes, so the number of characters that the word has, we'll show it with dashes in the terminal. And then we'll compare the letter that we guessed to the word in the computer code. And so with this process, we'll keep track of wrong and correct letters, we'll update the number of tries left, and update the shown word, which will be the word that's shown with dashes. And then we'll display a win-lose message depending on whether we, the user, can guess the correct word within 7 tries, which is the number of tries it takes to build a full hangman. Alright, so now let's actually get to coding. So first we're going to import something called random, which we'll use to choose a random word from a list of words. So in this case, we'll call this list of words words, and then we'll have a list. I'll put this list in the description so that you can copy and paste it to use if you would like as well. And then for choosing a random word, we can create a function called getRandomWord. And use something called random.choice to get a random word from the words list. Then we'll return this chosen word so that we have our word that we'll be trying to guess. Next, we'll be showing this word with dashes, which will also be our shown word. So let's create another function called hangman, which will be our main process. And in this case, we won't be doing graphics, but you can always add that in if you'd like to later. And so the way hangman works is that essentially there are 7 tries or 7 lives you have to get the word right. So we'll create a variable called lives and set that equal to 7. And then we want our actual word, which is the word that we'll be trying to guess, which will be equal to the getRandomWord words, and this will be the word that we're trying to guess. And then our shown word, which we're going to write in dashes, will originally start out as being nothing since we haven't put anything in it. Now we'll show the word with dashes. Pause the video now and see if you can figure it out on your own, and then we'll come back a bit later and I'll show you how. Alright, so the way to do this is using a for loop. So we'll we'll do a for loop for when x is in range of 0 and the length of the actual word. So remember that this will be inclusive and then exclusive, so this will give us the length that we want. And for every time the for loop goes through, we want the shown word to be updated by 1 dash, which means we'll add another dash to the already existing shown word, so it'll look like this. And then once it's done, we want it to print the shown word. And now that we have it printed with dashes, let's see it work. Yep, so we have some dashes. We don't know what this word is, but it's a 4-letter word out of this list, and it displayed it with 4 dashes. So now that we have this, we need to compare a letter that we will guess to the letters in the actual word. So to do this, first we will set the letter that we guess as a variable. So see if you remember how to do the input. We did this in the alarm clock video as well, and then we'll come back a bit later and do it together. Alright, so we do this using an input function. So the guessed letter, we'll call it the guessed letter, which is the letter that we're going to guess and put in the terminal, is going to be, we'll write a message. I'll just say guess a lowercase letter, and then so that it's nice to read. And then we want to compare, we want to see first if this guessed letter is actually in the actual word. So we'll use something called in to see if it's in the actual word. And if it is in the actual word, if we don't specify true or false, then it automatically defaults to true. Then we want to replace the letters, then we want to replace the indexes in the dashes that are the same as the letters in the actual word. So for example, let's say the actual word is bell and the guessed letter is L. Then we know that the index of the two L's is 2 and 3. It goes 0, 1, 2, 3 from B-E-L-L. And so we want to replace the indexes of 2 and 3 in the shown word with the guessed letter. So what we'll do is the shown word becomes, we'll create a function called replace letters. We'll type this on a little later. And then we'll get the parameters of the actual word, the shown word, and the guessed letter. And we'll write this. Based on my description, see if you can write it without me telling you, and then we'll come back and type it a bit later. So pause the video and try this out. Alright, so let's try to write this function. It's important that we put it outside of the Hangman so that we don't get our variables confused. It's easier to get the variables confused and not use the correct ones if we put it inside of the Hangman function. So let's put it outside. We'll call it replace letters, and then we'll get the parameters of the actual, shown, and guessed. And to do this, we'll use a for loop and go through all of the letters in the actual word parameter. So for x in range, again, from 0 to the length of the actual. If the actual is equal to the guessed, then we want to split the shown by doing something called slicing or indexing, and we'll make it so that we replace the dash with the guessed letter. So we'll do this by updating shown. And here we have x plus 1 so that it surrounds the guessed letter and we're cutting in the right spot. And then after this, we can print shown back to the terminal so that we'll see what the updated is. and we want to return shown as well so that the value actually updates when we call this function. Then we have to think about the case when the guessed letter isn't in the actual word. So try to take some time to figure that out, and then we'll come back a bit later and do it together. Alright, so to do this, we want to see if the guessed letter in the actual word is not there, which means the guessed letter in would return false. Then every time they guess something wrong, we want to decrease one of the lives. So we will subtract one of the lives, and then we'll print that this guessed letter isn't in the word. Let's also print the number of lives they have left so that they can tell how many tries are left. And we can't concatenate this string with this integer, so we have to turn the integer lives into a kind of string by using the string function, and we'll display the number of lives left. You might get an error message saying that the lines are too long, but don't worry about it, it won't impact your code in any way. And then we have to see if they have lost or won. So the final part is seeing if the lives are 0, then technically it means they died, and if the lives are not 0 and they managed to guess the word, then they won the game. So type that out, and then we'll come back and type it together. So pause the video. Alright, so if the lives are equal to 0, then we want to display a message saying you died. So we'll display a message. You can display any message you want. And then we'll also tell them what the word was. Now, on the other hand, if lives was not 0, which means they still had lives left, and there are no dashes in the shown word, so they guessed all of the letters and they guessed the word correctly, then we'll display a winning message. You can do this an alternate way by just setting the shown word equal to the actual word, but this is also another way you could do it. One thing you can do after this is to think about ways to make this more efficient and think about ways to shorten the code and make it faster in general as well. So just as an overview of the code we wrote, so we have our list of words, we'll choose a random word, then we'll update the shown word, which is the word that will be shown every time. Then we have our actual hangman function where we'll start out with 7 lives and make the actual word the word that we chose from the get random words. And the shown word starts out as nothing, and we'll show this word with dashes at first, which is our shown word, by making everything dashes. Then we'll get the guessed letter, which is the letter that we'll be putting in, and we'll see if this letter is in the actual word or not. So if it is, then we'll call the replace letters and update the shown word to replace the dashes that have the letter index in the shown word, so that we'll get our updated word with the letters that we correctly guessed in it. And if it's not in the actual word, then we'll display a message that says it's not in the word and subtract one of our lives. And finally, we'll display a win-lose message based on the number of lives left, and we'll call our hangman function. So let's try out our code. So we can go ahead and run, and let's try guessing a vowel. So O is in the word. Let's try W, so it's probably bull. And if we do a wrong letter, then you can see the lives decreases. If we do the correct letter, then it displays the message. Let's try again and purposely get all the letters wrong so that it'll display the message when we die for us. So let's say F, I, S, and it gives us the message when we die. So this is how the game works. You can always add graphics or add more words or keep track of letters that you've already used so that you can't enter repeat letters, display the letters that have already been used next to the message after every single input, and you can add a lot of features like that. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!